What's up, you guys? Today we're going to be talking about playing by ear. Now, playing by ear is something that I have been doing for a while, and that's probably why it comes so easy to me now. But first, I started off with a Kenny G song from Kenny G's album, Kenny G The Moment. And I started off with a song that he collaborated with Babyface on. And I think the song was called Every Time I Close My Eyes. Kenny G had a solo in there, and he's playing on his soprano saxophone, and I got my alto. I don't really care what key it's in. I'm just playing, you know, whatever note sounds like my note is probably the note I should hit. It's pretty much common sense. You don't really have to do a lot of transposing just because he plays soprano that's a B-flat instrument and you play E-flat alto. Just listen to the note that sounds like the note that he's playing, and you can't get too wrong unless you listen to a lick that you can't hear. But then what you should do is slow it down. So I was playing and I heard he does a solo, and it's really separated. So when I hear it, I'm like, well, if I separate it even more and just separate it into little parts, if I play it, separate little parts, and then try to play it all together, maybe it'll make it easier for me to learn how to play something like this. And the only reason I had just, you know, stop and just learn how to play that is because, I don't know, I was listening to the CD one day and I was like, well, yeah, maybe if I can play this, you know, it'll help me learn things faster. It'll help me pick up on music faster. And, you know, hey, I want to sound like this. You know, this is a sound that I want to go towards. You know, I don't want to sound exactly like them, because sounding exactly like your artist is not what you're going to do, because there's always a Kenny G and there's already a Kenny G. So you don't want to sound like an artist like that. But what you want to do is, when you're listening to the song, you already know it's complicated. Take Parker's Move, for instance. When I was trying to learn that on my tenor saxophone, it was like, oh my goodness. And I have an older tenor saxophone, so the fingering is so hard in comparison to the newer edition instrument. So my speed is so slow in comparison to what I used to be on my alto, or usually play on my alto. So I'm sitting here like, my goodness, this is harder than I thought, you know. But I ended up slowing the song down. You know, like on the Windows Media Player, if you have Windows on your computer, you can, if you have the MP3 file or whatever file you're playing with on the actual Windows Media Player, you can slow it down to about a fraction of the speed. And as long as you don't slow it down past the illuminated 0.5 of the speed, so that's half the speed, and, you know, a quarter of the speed I think they have, it's illuminated in white. And the reason it's illuminated in white is because once you go past a certain speed, if you slow it down too much, you'll modulate the music. So basically what modulate means is you're just playing it in a different key. It's still slow, but you're playing it in a different key. So I want it to retain the same key, so you can actually slow the music down to a good, you know, manageable level, and you could just play it over and over again. And it got tedious, but I learned it. So, you know, if you ever try to pick up something by ear, start just listening to your favorite songs. That's the most interesting thing about picking up things by ear, because you can listen to your favorite songs. For instance, my Tapion rendition of the Tapion theme that I have on my channel, that was one of my favorite DBZ songs that I've ever listened to, and it was very nice and melodic, and it's slow. I don't really have to slow it down to learn it. You know, I just have to, like I say, get some southern cooking on my face when I'm, you know, doing my practice, and really hear myself make a lot of wrong notes and do a lot of wrong things, and then eventually I got it right. You know, it's like riding your bike. You're going to fall off and you're going to get blood on your face sometimes, or you're going to get a scraped up knee, or you're going to get a scraped up ankle, or sometimes, you know, things don't go as you plan. But if you get up and you try it again, you'll eventually get it. And when you're practicing, you're not going to sound perfect, and you don't want to sound perfect. But like when Marcellus said, excuse me, not Wynton Marsalis, but Branford Marsalis said, in this day and age, people start to think that, you know, well, since I can play it, you know, all I'm interested in is sounding good and you telling me that I sound good. And no one actually wants to be the one of ridicule, and nobody wants to hear that they messed up, or hear that they're actually bad, or hear any constructive criticism. And It's the same mentality that forces Harvard to give B's to students who don't deserve them, and the same mentality that keeps people, you know, afloat just because they need them afloat and not necessarily because they're good at what they do. You know, most artists actually, like me in my head, what I ended up doing is I sit there and, you know, after every solo or every performance, I'm always thinking about what I did wrong. I never thought about the goods of the, you know, if I'm ever thinking about what good came out of it, I'm thinking it's good enough for them. You know, let them think, you know, but in my mind, especially when I did my Whitney Houston solo, that, and I'm thinking, because, you know, Whitney just died, I'm thinking, you know, that solo was, you know, in my mind, it was horrible. And it's not that I want the solo to sound bad, it's just that I only had one day to practice it and no time to perfect it. And even if I had that same time to perfect it, I still am thinking about the parts where I could have done better or made better, you know. Even if it was exactly like the track, even if I sounded exactly like Kirk Williams, was that me? And if it won't me, then I'm marking it down as one of the worst solos I've ever done. And I do that. Even at my graduation, oh my goodness, I hate thinking about this. But on my graduation, I had a solo on my tenor saxophone, and it was just horrendous. I don't want to go back to that day, you know, but just going back to the fact of the matter is when you're practicing and when you're trying to pick up stuff by ear, be able to make mistakes and know when you're false, and don't focus on what's so good about what you're doing. Focus on what you need to improve. As musicians, we are constantly improving what we're doing. So when you're learning by ear, you're trying to find and get as close as you possibly can to what you hear. And then once you get to it, as close as you can to what you hear, and you're pretty much at that level where you're like, okay, I get this now. You know, make it your own. And then when you make things your own, you open up a whole nother world of possibilities of mistakes, or possibilities that you could have done things better. You know, because how are you ever going to satisfy yourself when things are so vast in music? You can never possibly, well, that's what I believe, you can never possibly satisfy yourself when music is so vast. There's always some new lick someone's coming up with, or some new way they're expressing themselves that you want to get to that level. Not necessarily do exactly what they're doing, but you want to be able to express yourself on that same, around that same level, and be of that same clan of people. You know, like legendary jazz musicians like Dave Sanborn and Michael Brecker and all those other people, you know, that we look up to. So, going back, I got kind of off on a tangent, but going back to learning things by ear, you want to be that perfectionist of music. You want to listen to it, slow it down first. If you can slow it, if you can play it slow, you can play it fast. It's all about consistency and efficiency. You know, when I talk about consistency, are you playing the notes the right value? Are you playing the notes with the right articulation? You know, things like that. That jazz. Note to note, is it consistent? And then when I talk about the other part, efficiency, what are you putting into it that you're making it your own? And what you making, how are you making it efficient for yourself to play? You know, is it efficient to what you want to do? Or is it efficient to what the artist wants to do, or what the artist has done? Why don't you make it your own? Put some subtones in it. Do whatever you want to. I got various amounts of techniques that I'm willing to show you guys that you can really put the shouts, cries, and growls into your music. But, you know, when you're picking up this music and you learn it by ear, first thing you want to do is learn all your major scales. Once you learn all your major scales, you got pretty much the majority of the keys down on your hands already, because pretty much 99.5 or 9% of the music you're going to play is based off some kind of key signature. You know, you can find that genres tend to yield themselves to certain keys more than others. So, but starts off with those key signatures. So learn all your major scales and you'll learn most of the notes of a lot of keys, since all songs are based off keys or key signatures. As long as you know all 12 major scales and all key signatures, you're pretty much in the ballpark of learning a lot of music. And then by ear. And then you can start learning different scales like blues and bebop scales to help your improvising. So when you put your shouts, cries, and growls in there, they'll be exactly what you want. I'm Devin Etwelson. I hope this helps. I'm Devin, and I hope this helps. Next, that's going to be up on Project Sax is going to be the Grammys. The Grammys is coming up, you guys, and I'm ready to watch it tomorrow night for us on the East Coast. So I'm ready to hear some good music, and I'm ready to hear about some good artists who's been doing some wonderful things in the industry nowadays. And I'll see you guys there, or talk about it when we're watching it. So I'm going to have a review for that as well. So stay tuned.